Order at 3:01 p.m. And I need somebody to move to approve the agenda. I move to approve. Wonderful. So Katie and Kathy moved and approved, and I assume that passes. Acclamation. Everybody's yes. No objection. Okay. So welcome. Have we had any? I have not gotten notification of public comment. Did anybody online want to make comment? Public comment and not put in a card? I don't see it. Put your hand up or turn your screen on. Okay. Yay. Hi, Timmy. We see you. I don't know if you can see our shared screen. Can you see the projected Senate agenda?
1 sec. Let me just switch.
For somebody else who's like actively in the meeting now, can you tell me if you can see?
I don't see the
The
green
agenda?
line around it. I don't know if we're sharing.
I don't see it.
No, there's nothing shared.
I think it's because we have two screens, so I don't know. If I want to share screen too, but then I can't see you guys. No, you will. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, there it is. Now I see it.
You got it now? All right, and again, powerful Tara. You make this. Wow. All right, you're right. There we go. The greens. Sorry, thanks for your patience, guys. All right, so welcome. We don't have any public comment in the room as well, right? All right, so I will, before we go to approval of minutes, I want to welcome our guest today. So Jordan Killiver, your official title again? I forget these things.
It's long, so Executive Director of Public Affairs and Communications.
Okay, great job here. And I think I'll do this now, even though I said later. So say your name.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan. I am the Commissioner of Academics for Student Government, so I'll be like the liaison from here and to them. I'm a first year, so it's really cool to get to be involved. And my major is psychology currently. So, yeah.
Nice. So we're really happy to have
Yeah, I'm
you.
excited to work with you all. It'll be great.
And then Angel's here again from the channels and our news editor, and I always warn them, there's moments where I go, what do students think? Sometimes we put you on the spot for that, knowing it's just, you know, your voice, but you know a lot of people here, so we're really happy to have you here. All right, great. So the minutes for today, I only have 9:13. It's taken me longer to review them, so Marguerite and I are working on the workflow and timing on that. But does anybody have any corrections or emendations to these minutes before we move to approve them? All right, great. So do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, so Tara and a second. Okay, great. Thank you, Ben. All right, so again, we will just approve these by acclamation, but I'm checking for any abstentions. If you want to abstain, please speak your name to abstain or say no. Great, thank you so much. The minutes are passed. Okay, great. All right, so now I'm trying this thing where I'm trying to have this live Google Doc because it helps me sort of retain and kind of keep the ideas that we're talking about in my mind. But I think that it helps other people as well. So in this report section, we will be going to the liaison reports, but mine and Maria's reports are going to just be shared on this doc right here. And then I will have to link to the liaison reports. Again, I knew I was forgetting something in that long half hour here. I'll get it eventually. All right. So this is this practice of, it's a live Google Doc because reports are for that stuff that comes in after the agenda goes out. I then attach the copy to as a PDF afterward, and we can add questions and comments along the way because it's just really hard to track that stuff otherwise. So we're trying with it. So the highlight from my report is basically, it's been a very intense couple of weeks. But I'm really excited because Tara and I have been hearing from so many faculty sharing concerns, comments, and we are, I think, rebuilding this chance to figure out how we're going to be able to participate in all of the exciting things that are going on. So here are the three, and all of these things show up elsewhere, which is also a good sign for me. I like things to be surprises. I do think our timing is still, we don't quite have our timing going as far as how soon we start to introduce things, but we're catching up and we're going to continue to. So for the Antioch rental, there's a reminder here that our last agenda had the details of the former leases. And the update from EC Plus and our college president to confirm that we'll go through consultation for any changes to that rental agreement for spring into summer, and then the larger decision was how to continue. And so Katie will tell more about the first PNR meeting, and Tara and I were there as well. And so I just want that moving through our process as well. I think what's gonna happen is PNR will make recommendations to the Senate, and then we'll be sending things to CPC. The other groups might be talking as well, or they might be waiting to hear from us first. This was a big one, and this came up just before the last board meeting. There was a memo, memorandum of understanding on the board agenda for approval. And that felt a little hasty for faculty, given how involved we are in it in terms of curriculum, programming, of course, facilities use. The intent was to make it possible to start to collaborate on those things. So it's not that the administration, and they had been talking to faculty, but it came as a bit of a surprise that it hadn't come to our body in any form yet. So Erica, people talked to me about it. Erica moved it from action to information. And so it's got this month to kind of like people talk about it. And again, the intent was to set up a framework so we could collaborate together. But ideally, we would see that before it's an approval item. And so we will be able to do that. And Maria will talk more about it. Then the last one that just happened, that our vice president of business services is looking at trying to make a deal with Follett, the books national corporation, to take over our textbook sales. So Maria's report has details about that. And again, that is very much in faculty review in terms of teaching materials. And so we need to really learn more about that. So it is in the pipeline to discuss. So I'm thinking that will be at our October 25th meeting.
There's a typo of SBBC.
SB, yeah. That's why it's so great.
Instead of our business college.
Okay, very funny. Okay, SB. All right, thank you. So Maria's report has more on that. I will say now, so nobody like screams when they see it, they are looking at doing this for spring. And usually we don't make these kind of changes mid-year, so we'll have to see how this goes.
Maybe it's the first time.
There you go. And then the last heads up is DTC and SEA are working at reviewing their membership structures. And so those will be coming through for us. Those are college-wide committees that we, of course, have a voice on as part of show governance. So if you have special interest in that, ITC is going to be looking at the DTC recommendation, and the equity committee is working on theirs now. So they might be coming to CBC and us kind of in the same timeline, but we'll have the chance to weigh in on those. So more information coming. So you'll have the chance to ask questions at Maria's report and for me and Katie's, and I'll fill in if there is something. All right, so Maria.
Hi, everyone.
Do you want to drive it?
Oh, sure.
And then I know.
Great. Great. I love that. Control over the screen.
There you go.
Okay, so I've got several items for you in today's report. I'm not sure if you had access to this before the meeting. No.
No, it's a lie.
I will be extra detailed and elaborate, you know, if I have the time. So there are several items that I wanted to just share with you. The first one is, and they're not in order of priority, if I should say. And so this one is about our scheduling practices, ongoing conversation. These are some of the ways in which we are exploring improving our scheduling practices. These are some of the things that we're currently looking at, which is staying within a schedule that of course matches our enrollment decline in a better way. As you all know, we're currently at -5% in decline this semester compared to just a year ago. If we compare with previous years, it's worse, okay? And then we're also continuing to explore the possibility of changing the status of closed sections to standby. We continue to explore that possibility with IT and with scheduling. And then we, of course, continue to hope that there will continue to be an increment, as slow as it might be, of in-person classes, particular versus online, fully online, particularly because we get less apportionment for fully online classes than we do for in-person classes. That's just the fiscal lens, right? Not to mention all the pedagogical reasons why we want to continue doing that. As slow as it might be, but we want to go in that direction. The other one is the item that Kim mentioned, which is Santa Barbara Ocean Collective Discussion. The district has been in conversation with the commercial fisheries of Santa Barbara. The MOU that it will be coming, hopefully to a near future board meeting, is an opportunity to open the conversation, open the door, and continue our conversation about this partnership, which could include identifying a facility at Santa Barbara City College for their boat storage, but also open up the possibility of academic programming for several of our disciplines, existing disciplines, and or potentially new ones. We have been working with some of the most relevant faculty in biology department and also in marine diving technology. Jeff has been part of some of those conversations. This MOU, however, that is coming up doesn't speak to any commitment in terms of curriculum. It only continues the venue, if you will, for that continuing conversation.
Maria, I want to add the point that you said about facility. I don't see that in this meeting. This is the conversation with commercial but partnership that can include rental. Right here.
Yes,
Rental of boat storage.
Yes, and I think that it's, it may or may not actually be in the MOU at all. I'm just sharing that with you. I don't know, not memorizing the MOU.
No, it's long.
But it may or may not include that, but do know that that is something that we would be looking at exploring.
Can we ask a question?
Information, yeah.
Information. I am concerned about that because they probably want to use that area down by La Playa. And no, for boats.
That is not one of the areas that we could potentially look at. It's been really interesting. Yeah, there are other areas that we might explore.
So Erica is going to come. Eric is coming to our next meeting. So we're going to get to ask.
Before the MOU gets approved.
Oh, yeah. And the MOU again does not stipulate a specific facility. It does not.
But any commitment to a facility is important to get to hear about.
And the commitment is to explore the possibility of identifying a facility, not
Perfect, that will definitely happen.
a facility. Yes. Okay, the next one is related to the bookstore, textbook sales operation with this company, and so I listed the conversation that came and the questions that came from Dean's Council, just to kind of help provide more information for you guys as you know, entertain this discussion now or in the near future. Essentially, it will produce, or one of the outcomes is that the students will be paying less money for the books than they currently own. And it has no impact on our staffing for classified professionals. We've also talked to CSEA about this, and they are in the loop, is what I think I should say. And so we continue to explore that possibility. And yes, we're hoping that we can move forward with it as soon as possible, because we want our students to save money as soon as possible with their textbooks.
Can I ask a follow-up question about that?
Or information, sure, and then. Sorry.
Have we talked about how that would work out with the promise and purchasing those textbooks for students? Because it's my understanding that we can't give students money to purchase textbooks or materials that aren't through our bookstore.
Yeah. So I would say that in the interest of time here today,
Put
I
it on
would
the
say,
agenda for next time.
please read the report. Some of these questions are answered. And if you have additional questions, send them my way, and I am absolutely happy to send you the, a list of FAQs.
I
Or
think
just
we're gonna wanna
questions.
have more of a discussion of it, so it's the question of whether, since it's an information item, I think we could probably wait and do those questions at our October 25th meeting, have a discussion item, are you guys good with that? But now, you can start thinking about them. So we'll definitely have it on the October 25th meeting, so I won't do this now, but it's here now to give us that time. And so, when we have it for the discussion item, we can generate those questions, and it might be more efficient to collect some of them in another way. So you could tell your senators, could let steering know, could email me, we can share it at steering, and kind of, we could bring that as a document to work off of on the 25th. We can get those questions to administration before that, so.
What worries me is book orders should have gone out already for spring. I haven't seen any of you. So how are we gonna get book orders
All right.
ready?
Yeah.
And is the book order system gonna be different through fall than through what we do now?
You would think, so, yeah, it seems quite unlikely we will do this for spring, but we'll see.
And I'm happy to share forward any questions directly to Brian, he's been meeting with. Or however, like,
The problem is we move towards figuring out how to collaborate and have input. We need to be together and kind of talk, like trying to do one-off emails and tracking stuff, it's just, it won't work,
We could have
so
a Google Doc like this where
Yes.
you put questions.
that's a great.
I just put that here in my report, so
No,
I wanted to let you know,
I
that
know.
I invited them to Dean's Council so that we could have the discussion there. And your deans came up with these questions for them, and they were there, so they were able to respond to those on the spot, so I'm keeping you in the loop.
Which is awesome, and it gives us this time to think about a little bit, instead of like you get the agenda on Sunday, trying for Friday, and Sunday for a Wednesday meeting, so like you wanna know. So, we will create a Google Doc for questions.
Okay, so the next item is, again, in the interest of time. I wanted to let you know that the HIT faculty, along with their dean, are exploring the possibility of creating and applying for a Bachelor of Science next year in HIM. And, I know it's a big project, and so I commend them for having the energy and the effort and the enthusiasm.
People
look
look at it.
Health information management,
Thank you.
I barely just do it.
See, I'm trying to write out the answer, how much
HIT, but it's a little broader.
Yeah, and so we are exploring that possibility. Some of you may or may not have seen press releases recently from nearby colleges that are already applying for BAs and BSs.
Right.
So we are looking at exploring that possibility for next year's cycle of applications.
I don't think you'll get it passed through the state senate, chancellor's office, thing that.
Well, no, that's the timeline. That's a chancellor's office.
She's
just not
putting
forward the app.
Just-
Yeah.
Not to start.
No.
That's
It
just.
sounded like you were saying.
No, it's
that
the
you have
application
program.
Okay.
For people who don't know, our HIT program has been a phenomenal program for a really long time. It's created to be totally online, and it's been, going across the country for so many working people. So I think this is a really appropriate choice, given our expertise in history. So I want to make that plug for that program.
Thank you. And I want to give kudos to Dr. Price and his faculty for, again, the enthusiasm, the effort, the time, the consideration, the proactiveness, the innovation, all of those good things for even exploring it. Because, it may or may not happen. We don't know. But we won't know unless we try, right? And then the other one is I was invited by the counseling department last week to discuss scheduling practices. I think we had a really good meeting, was my sense. Some of you here were present and, productive meeting. And I think I would love to have more of them because they really do bring an important perspective from, the students' side. Not that we don't get to talk to students, I know you all do, but it's a different kind of, from a different lens, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So one of the things that they brought up though is, potentially, and I think I agree with this request, is that, looking at the possibility of students being able to register beyond the first day of classes. This is not here so that we can discuss it right here. I know that's a big discussion. I'm just sharing with you in transparency what we discussed, And I know that requires a policy revision and all that kind of stuff. Should you wish to pursue that, there is some support for that.
I want to say I've been emailing Sabrina, we're trying to set up a meeting with Paloma, right, to kind of talk about stuff in academic counseling. Am I hallucinating this?
It was to talk about summer scheduling.
Only summer?
Yeah,
Okay, at any rate,
we had our meeting, so.
and I just want to share, Maria and I you brought up in sharing this report, well, wait a minute, what about student affairs? And like, you're here, which is fabulous, but that's a chance for us to have that conversation. So I think we need to figure out when to schedule that and here. We would like to hear more from counseling and then have that feedback. So thank you. Thank you for the future topic.
And then again, we discussed many other topics, which, I was there for an hour and 15 minutes and I basically spoke for an hour. So they heard a lot from me, so that was good. It was a good conversation. Two last things. One is that there is going to be a dual enrollment workshop is scheduled for November 13th. The group from the chancellor's office will be here presenting a workshop along with our dual enrollment team. Paloma, Michael Medell, Angelica are very involved with the coordinating that workshop. And so also, if you have not received an invite yet, you will soon if you're department chair, because we wanted to invite the department chairs to this workshop to learn more about the chancellor's Vision 2030 and what that project looks like for Santa Barbara City College and our local districts. So
Can anybody else who'd like to come ask for an invitation? Do you care?
that's a good question. I would ask,
I don't think
Just
anyone
because-
would want to, but
because of room capacity, I would run that by Paloma first and Michael and for Angelica, because they're also going to be inviting Santa Barbara Unified School District counselors, faculty, and administrators. And I think the room that we typically use for that large group is not available or something to that effect. So I would ask them directly. And finally, I want to let you know, we continue to move forward with our envision plan meetings, work group meetings. We are going to be having meeting number 3. I think tomorrow, I want to say. Yeah, and so at tomorrow's meeting, we're looking at national trends and data that's relevant to Santa Barbara City College and or applicable that we wish to look at, incorporate, or have that inform our envision plan goals. And then we're also going to be looking at discussing what does the actual envision plan look like to us a year from now? What will it actually look like? Is it an action plan? Is it, one of those plans that sits on a shelf and is just very general? What exactly does that look like? We're gonna talk about that. So that's all I have for you. I know that was long, sorry.
There's a lot going on and it's really great to get it out now and we can expect it and start to talk to people and see what they think about it. Okay, and I got to grab that moment to take.
Can I ask a follow-up question? I'm so sorry, Maria.
Sure.
In
Well,
regard,
I think.
okay. In terms of the VS and health information management, is there a certain process in place for identifying which areas or which degrees we think that we would like to propose for a bachelor's degree? I know it sounds funny coming from us as academic counselors, because we're not the ones that teach it, but in terms of just having our ear to the students and knowing what the demand is and knowing what's out there in terms of, transfer options and things like that and where the need is.
Yeah.
I feel like we definitely have some insight that we would like to share. And if the if we can make those suggestions, then we would like to do so, because there are definitely other programs that we think would be really
I think
beneficial.
Kathy might jump in to say this. There's real limits on what community colleges can do for BAs and BSs. You have to be sure that it's not available in the local regions. There's a lot of limitations.
Exactly, yeah.
So that
Yeah,
we're gonna point
I
out.
was, but I do think it might be useful, even prior to you finalizing this, to have at one of the Senate meetings, a discussion with some of the documentation from the state Senate on how this happens, what has to be put in place. And then again, what kind of programs. It's very limited to what we can offer. But it's also very complex because they have to be upper division classes. We have to have appropriate facilities, faculty and so forth. But it would be interesting because there's a whole thing on the Senate website about bachelor degree stuff.
I'm sure, I'm just not sure if this is the moment for that level discussion. I would hope that like, could you just invite
Well,
some of the counselors to the one you
But
guys are having?
before you bring this to us really for approval, we have to understand what's involved. I mean, wouldn't have to be a big.
We'll talk this steering, yeah, I hear you. A presentation at some point, but the idea of their feedback for other BS or BAs is a different question, and I'm not sure we're ready to do that at that
Yeah.
level this fall anyway.
Okay.
Okay,
Sorry.
but we can ask here. Okay, great, thank you. Okay. So Stephanie is first.
I think, she told me Trisha was gonna be. Yeah, it was Trisha.
Okay, all right, so Trisha, well, hello, Trisha, I see your name here for this, thank you.
Okay, all right, yeah, so I just want reporting on CAC because CPC did not meet since the last meeting. So what we've been working on at the
I'm sorry,
at
Trisha,
CAC.
start with Stephanie, your name is on SPSS, you see the shared screen,
Yeah.
Partnership for Student Success. Or we can just.
Oh.
It's all right.
Oh. I wasn't aware I was a liaison for that. I did attend, but I don't have my
So you're
notes in front
not
of
a
me right now.
liaison, you're just a resource person, we'll just look at it, so tutoring.
Oh,
and high-
okay.
Okay, don't.
Oh, I'm
say
sorry, I
anything.
misunderstood.
No, I
Sorry.
understand what you did, sorry. Please do not let tutors work until officially hired, okay? So this has been an issue. So just, if your tutor isn't hired, talk to Fit Lally. And then the apportionment draft for line of sight needs or questions, reach out to, well, Beth is here. Do you want to fill anything in, or is that, anybody have any questions about this? Okay, we'll let it go that time. Okay, thank you, Tricia, sorry about that. So D is next. My meeting is until Friday. There you go. Tricia, CPC.
Okay, good. Maybe I'll be more coherent this time.
No, it wasn't you.
So, yeah, no. So, I mean, basically, just to kind of summarize, is that CAC has been working on updating, clarifying, and looking at ways to really communicate a lot of the policies and practices related to work experience in courses that incorporate work experience, of course, distance ed and DEIAA. So that includes updating the APs to reflect and document what we're really pretty much already doing, but also getting word out about all these really helpful guides we have and getting people to kind of look at their classes again through these lenses. Also, Guire presented did a great presentation on the credit for prior learning programs and practices, and it was really interesting, and looking into that more and documenting it better really helps with students, getting them more enrollments, better retention. They stay longer if they're able to get credit for prior learning. So that's what we're exploring, and there's more details in the on the board docs, obviously.
Thank you, and I just want to say congrats to CAC, right? And I'll get it all correct later, but that's a big deal, right? I'm sure that took a lot of work, right?
Yes, it did.
So thank you to Tara, Dr. CAC, and to Kayleen, of course, I know you guys are. Woo, thank you. Before Katie makes her report, I believe Emma opens tonight.
Yes.
Wow.
we do.
So-
Well, it's our first audience tonight, our preview, we call it.
Preview, right.
But just as a reminder, any of your students who have an activity pass or any faculty and staff can go free today and tomorrow at 7:30. So.
In the
like
Garden.
In the Garden.
In that splendid garden.
All they have to show is their activity pass and they'll get a free ticket.
Woo,
That is always the case
What
with our
time?
shows.
7:30.
It's a lot of fun. We have had a rocky road, but we have once again
The show.
tried our best to rise to the occasion. Thank you for mentioning. Okay, a couple things, Facilities and Safety Committee, they discussed that after the semester's first planned power outage, we discovered that a lot of the safety equipment isn't fully functioning. I know I was in the Garden when the lights went out and the generators actually didn't kick in on either. So there is like a generator problem and it's, one more reason we need a bond. We know we have a lot of deferred maintenance issues and one of the things Facilities and Safety is looking into is improving the quality of our generators. It's particularly difficult in the EBS and PS buildings because of the stuff that they have that needs to stay refrigerated even when the power goes out. The PE building challenge continues as well. And there, Brian does have ways that he is trying to put together funding for that. You guys may have heard, there's a plan to bring some electric bikes to campus, particularly for Ventura students who are coming here by rail and then need a way to get to campus. They're looking into that. And then in terms of PNR, we had, as Kim mentioned, intensive meeting yesterday with Brian and Maria, and Kim and Tara were there. One of the things I found most interesting, and I did think it was worth mentioning, was that Jamie Campbell, Cornelia could speak to this, but I'll just net it down. Presented 4 principles that I think the FA has come up with for setting out to Antioch in terms of further rental agreements, whether it's in the spring, the summer, or going forward after that. And that is number 1, that they will agree to minimize or eliminate disruptions to our faculty and students. That if there's any special treatment for Antioch, like air conditioners, they would also be offered to our own faculty and students. That there would be transparency in the contract, including, are we paying for the AC? Are we paying for utilities? Are we paying for parking passes? Are we paying for duplication? Are we paying for them to be able to go to the library? If they go to the library, will they pay extra to have a new library tech person because we know the library is understaffed, that kind of thing. And finally, that they also recommended that on Antioch's materials and signage, it would say Antioch at SBCC, so that there is also the benefit. And, we also generated a number of pros and cons in terms of inviting Antioch to the campus, and definitely felt that there are a number of pros to having this partnership, but we also want to be able to be quite involved with just making sure that it's a good experience on all sides.
Right.
That was, I think, the main thing. Go ahead.
Can I speak
Stuart.
to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're working on frequently asked questions to make sure that all those are addressed, so please bear with me, I'll get it out to you. And I guess, yeah,
Definitely.
obviously your dealers will go from there.
Definitely. And then we are working to move the reader application process to April 1st. That's allowing faculty to better plan and be able to find readers before the fall semester starts and know how much funding will be available. Those were the main things. Where there also was a motion put forward by PNR, which will go to CPC, which basically says that if you have not purchased an item that for which you received funding a year or 2 years ago, then that money is going away. So you could be prepared to ask for it again once this program review process begins for August. I think that the ITC had nothing new.
You're perfect. Ah, great work, you guys. A lot going on. All right.
Can we have Brady, does someone say something too?
Oh, yeah. For a liaison report.
It's very short,
Yeah, okay.
just an announcement, we have 2 events coming up tomorrow at 5:30 for our part-time faculty. Please encourage everybody to come, we will be talking about what's new in terms of part-time faculty legislation, health insurance, seniority rights, and also what other important things are on the mind of our part-time faculty. It's a event sponsored by the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges, PAC. We have also the president of the Santa Monica College Faculty Association here as a mentor. Santa Monica is a great role model for us in terms of what they provide in their contract for part-time faculty as for faculty in general. Just look at the salary schedule. So they will be here Thursday evening, and there will be food for the attendees. And then we have on Friday morning, I believe we start at 10 to 12:30, a retirement workshop, also in co-sponsoring the fact we will have somebody from CalSTRS here. And we will have like a beginning, like 50 minutes, meet and greet, and then 1 hour presentation for all faculty. And then we will have breakout rooms for part-time faculty and for full-time faculty separately.
Don't we all have this in our Google Calendar invite?
Yes,
Okay, so just, we can look there too, but in the future, we'll have it written out, because I can't take them.
I did not have a link to it.
Well, I understand, this is our, we're gonna try to do this,
I have to do that.
and I'm gonna say that, see your Google Calendar invite, right? Because we all got it, didn't we?
See your Google calendar, your Google calendar.
Perfect, thank you. But they're awesome, okay. See your Google Calendar.
All these awesome events.
Yeah,
Can I say one more thing?
yeah, well, I do this.
Friday, so both events are here on campus, PC 214 with food. But for the Friday morning, we are also, and I will add that to the calendar.
Please do.
Last minute, a Zoom webinar link,
Woo,
right? There will be a webinar link, but we want the RSVPs for the in-person thing so that we know how much food.
yeah, okay, tell them about food, tell them. If you are coming.
Tons of coffee.
Coffee. It's great, okay, thank you. All right, so then we're good back to chat. Okay. So I am not gonna, these are here to read. I just want you guys to remember this great opportunity to continue to weigh in on the scheduling. Okay, this one, I'm not gonna read except to say, look, I put it in the title. Email Darren, the head of this committee. This committee needs input from the faculty for these programs that deserve awards. So this is really worth doing. I will admit, I only did it the semester I was on sabbatical. A lot of work, but I worked on a proposal for an award that we got. It's hard, but some of you, so just get other people to do with you. There are people on campus who already have stuff written up and are super good at it, you know, like Justina, Melissa Thurasis, you know, so just use your connection, folks, to help us submit something for this award. So it's on all of us, and don't wait, it's due the 23rd, so like try to let them know a few days before that so the committee members aren't worried. This is kind of fun that you can do Area C meetings via Zoom. So we've already spent our money for conference for our 3 noble attendees for fall. But this is a cool stage of democracy, and it's on Zoom, so you can, it's very low effort. So I encourage you to try to attend the Area C. I did one when I was new, and it was fun. It was really. Okay, and all right. This one we're working on, stuff coming through DPAP. Reminder to do this survey. So literally, we get 1 million emails. So I'm putting it in here as a place for you guys. Oh yeah, this is important stuff faculty should give feedback on. This is a big one. So if your division had a new hire, if you think they're the kind of people who need a nudge, please email your hiring committees and your division to complete the survey, because it's gonna be really valuable. Program review updates for year 3. Program leads got an email for resource requests. Those are due November 3rd and October 20th if it's related to technology, and it's all went out to the lead. What we are doing differently this year is we're sending out the templates to update your progress towards goals. It's actually going to be November 17th that that's due. For those templates in your folders now, you're going to get an email so you can let your department chairs know. The email will come today or tomorrow before Michael goes on his much earned vacation. That they're in your folder, but they're already there and they're really simple. It's Google Sheets now instead of the yucky software. So it's a little more fun to interact with, and it's pretty low key, but it is a chance to document what you've been doing, the progress you're making. And it's really exciting for Peck to read those and then share them with CPC in the spring. So November 17th, of course, if you need a little more time, you can email us, but goal for 7, try to get it done. Okay. This is just the documentation from the board agendas. I never looked at board agendas until I had to, although thanks to your summaries, I might more in the future because I know what's going on.
That's really good.
Yeah. But it's hard to wade through all this because something really stands out to me. This is the one that got changed from the action item to information, and it's got the 2 attachments to it. And so that's just a resource for you. We'll be coming back through, but it's woo, okay. Hopefully we won't always have this much stuff. Okay, so our goals for today, 3:45. So we have these 4 discussion items, really. Yeah, 4, but I think the biggest one are the probably 1 and 3. So I did make a Google Doc of this just for that notes thing. That's my dream. I'm trying to track our thinking, but this is just a reminder of where we are. So we decided that we were going to wait on calling for any proposals because we are so overfunded. There are 2 reasons where there might be a little more wiggle room. The state budget might improve. Tax revenue might be better or whatever. Taxes came in October. This is a lot of California community colleges are in this position and a little bit freaked out and upset, and it was an election year. So maybe there'll be a change in spring. And also there's still the case for essential full-time hires. And so we would want to make some kind of recommendation for spring, no matter what. So given that, Steering started to just try to put some things in writing that we can totally change and move around, but I always find that helpful to start a discussion. And so these are the things we were thinking about for essential full-time faculty hires for the full Senate to revise and add to as part of today's discussion. So I'm going to go into I'll go into the Google Doc now, and I'm not going to be great at calling on people, so just kind of help. We'll make that kind of a group effort. This is the part that's in the Google, in our board doc that's put in here to add to it. So this was the beginning focus from Steering, and we were just thinking for the essential hires. We also might want to think about something about the failed searches question. We don't have to do all that today. We have fall, but it's nice to do this like in a reasonable time frame for once. So we're starting now and see if we'd be ready to make recommendations on this in our October 25th or the following November meeting. So let's look at these and see if anything you don't like, anything else you want to add or add sub points to it. So we were thinking programs here, and these also grew out of the discussion we all had here together at 9:13 and 9:27. So we just got to know. So program survival, single full-time faculty member, difficulty to hire adjuncts. Program can't be fostered by another department. Psych's doing that for social work right now. So we have got. Oh, they're doing it for.
Doing it for addictive.
Oh, AD, yeah, addictive for Gordy. Thank you. Alcohol and what is the name of it?
Alcohol and Drug Counseling Agency.
Okay, for accreditation and licensing requirements, if you need that full-time faculty member to still, be legal. Legally required to provide this service or opportunity for students. A position is subsidized in some ways. We're talking about the DSPS position, which we didn't even rank last year because it's 80% paid by categoricals. The ADM program, we learned with Erica was here that it's not that they directly pay them, but they pay the equivalent to the program to do the lab and other staffing. So it is still an economic kind of zero out for us to be able to offer the program, although obviously investment. Valuable and unique resource that supports our local community. We really think a lot about that commitment. And then if the position's not filled, the students not be able to achieve their degree objective. So I have there's everybody on steering's here too. And of course, you guys from your areas. What else is on your mind to be thinking about essential hiring? Yes.
This isn't really about learning, but in terms of like faculty hiring. Because we tend to, departments come in and say like, we have need, this is why we need need. And so English always gets positions, right? Because you have need.
We don't.
Not
know.
always. We always ask, kind of just what ask, right? Like, given declining enrollments and all of that, if we need to start thinking strategically about areas of growth. So like the social work thing, like would it not make sense to hire a faculty person who can help with a social work degree? You know, and or I've talked with psych about like ABA certificates for people who work with autistic people, that there's a real need in the community, they're good jobs. That those are ways, rather than just saying like, we need people to cover more classes, but to really think about what areas can grow, where we can develop programs, and less sort of the way that we've been doing it. Does that make sense? So like thinking about what can attract students and what can grow in terms of programs, rather than we have a lot of adjuncts and we teach a lot of classes. So that's just an idea that I'm thinking about.
I think that, do other people think that's a really important idea? Yeah, I think it is very much.
It should come to us through PEC, the answers to that question. That's what PEC exists for.
Well, sort of.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we already have a structure.
They evaluate the programs that are here. We don't necessarily reach out and look for new
Future
programs.
programs. Yeah.
And I think we do have to be a little careful with that, because until we've demonstrated that those classes actually fill, and we actually have a student population for those positions, it's a gamble to hire somebody until we actually know we're gonna have that base of students.
So I think the idea, right, whether it would be a higher, whether it actually be emergent high for January or like.
No, just in terms of like a long-term way of thinking about faculty hiring.
Yeah, but those are two great points, so sort of like, okay, of course.
And I'll just add to that, because I think actually the social work case is a very good example of the process. And so in the case of social work with, it was still housed within sociology. What they first did is they created a course. And then they saw, was there, enrollment in this course, and there was a lot, and there was a lot of interest. So then they created a series of courses. And they still were vetting it to see if they would garner enrollment and interest. They were being told by students that this was a program they wanted to really see at our campus. And those were very, very popular. And the way they were able to manage it is they were lucky, because they found a very good part-time instructor who had developed a social work program in Ventura. But that was the process, right? They developed a course, they saw how it fared. And after about 2 years of seeing constant enrollment, now they created a new program for it. So that's a very good process.
Yeah.
And they're still able to staff it with
They
adjuncts.
are, so I mean, there's probably a limit how long that
Yeah.
will continue. But that's a good model
Yeah.
to follow.
Because I am concerned that if it's just, there's no hiring, there's no money, then you're
Stifling growth.
stifling growth, and people being creative about what's needed and what demand is.
But I think this also addresses Chris's question about PAC, because we can develop curriculum in our own departments as part of meeting, needs we see for our students. And then if it gets to this probably see the interest, then you have that chance to take it. I don't think, this probably just went to CAC for the program, right?
Absolutely, because you have to have courses before you can create a program.
So the CAC is the main one. I don't know.
Remember too that Kaylee helps folks to do a feasibility report to see if a program is even viable for us, and it's now all completely integrated into CurricuNet now. So you don't have to do it in 2 different places anymore, and all of that happens before it ever reaches the attention of PAC.
And I'm gonna say something because I now sit on the Strategic Enrollment Management Committee. And I now know that there's a real focus on trying to get our productivity number up, which means an average class size of 35, which seems very difficult to meet on our campus, given what I know of our programs that offer so many classes below that. What is the course cap, do you know, for these new classes?
For sociology, it's 40.
40. So I mean, those are also extra exciting to us at this time as we look at, I mean, I know it's not like a top, it's like, let's think about first, but if it does work pedagogically, that's another really strategic decision about the kind of things where we can grow that also will not be expensive. Yeah.
You know, I think this is a really good list, but I'm just wondering if we shouldn't this fall ask those programs that did not fill their position to provide us with some information now on why that their position should be filled. I'm really concerned about those departments that made the decision for good reason not to hire. And now they're feeling, I'm sure, out on this limb. And maybe we could ask them to address some questions now on the viability of their program, demand, class size, all these things to get a little head start. Because you all know that if we wait till February, which is what it would be for us to decide, it's really hard to advertise and get the word out and get people, because these people are applying everywhere.
We talked about this
Yeah,
and
we
felt, given the everyone's over fun, that we imagine a slower timeline probably for any hires.
That's true.
I think this is a discussion I think the Senate should make, which is whether there's really any privileging of failed hires for this year, given the essential hire concept. So in other words, would we want to invite those 6 departments to present regardless, or only if they feel they meet the essential criteria? I don't have an answer to that, but I wouldn't want to ask them to come simply because in the olden days we said failed searches definitely got priority, because I don't feel that.
But we didn't always do that anyway. It's been different every time we've had failed
Been
searches.
pretty regularly,
It's
you know?
been, no, we have had many days.
We can,
I've been around a long time and I've seen a lot of failed searches. Those positions never got the position. So it's different every year depending on the financial status. But I mean, I'm just wondering if at least giving them some criteria ahead of time to say, hey, do you think you meet this?
that's the question, whether the essential, if this would be the criteria that we invite them to comment on.
Just to clarify, so there's 2 categories. There's the 3 programs, which are DSPS, early childhood, and marine diving that have temporary hires. So that was one category that my understanding was those would be given priority.
Well, that's up to us.
Yeah.
And then
we
the
haven't
other, and
decided
then there
that
are
either.
5, and then I think there's just 5 others, not 6. I believe there are 5 other programs, because the political science one went to English and it was walked way out.
They're out.
So I believe it's just 5.
But I don't think we made a decision even about those 3.
No, we talked about it.
Although, didn't they get the 1-year positions?
They did.
Because they won't exist.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a criteria on the list that matches all of these positions.
Right, that's what I'm saying, we might even want to make a decision so that the process of advertising and stuff could start early.
Erica wouldn't be making that decision until January, regardless. It's her take from the 27th, but we could confirm it. That was what I heard when she was here on the 27th, that it would happen before then anyway, but
We know Jeff would like it in there, but.
Well, it's hard in those positions too, the one reason there are failed searches, they didn't have enough applicants. So we already know that they have problems, so why would we wanna,
No, that's not true, Ben.
no?
That might be possible for some, but. Not for biology, they had somebody. But then they chose a different school, arguably because our hiring process was later.
But that wasn't one of the temporary.
We're talking about
contracts.
these,
We're talking just about those,
Specifically temporary.
just the temporary.
I thought you were talking about all of the.
No, the temporary contracts are the ones that really were given contracts because
Yes.
it was essential.
And then the others that did not hire, just, let's see, I bet, come on, you guys, you know your people, right? Well, let's just let them.
Biology for sure, ethics studies,
Who else?
Yes.
ADN.
History.
There was one ADN.
Say that again from Zoom land.
Because ASL.
That was.
Oh. ASL, yes, okay.
I remember ADN.
Biology.
ADN, one of the five.
The third ADN, right? They got the
Yeah.
two.
That one of the temporary contracts, what they did.
No.
Okay, what were they?
They're in that list.
It was BS,
Funding.
BSPS.
ECW and Marine down the way.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, is it you guys?
Who else?
I
lost.
AFL,
All right, so in this group, so right, so the question is, as you look at this. Do we want to think any more about, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, okay. Yeah, so.
Can I comment on the
Yeah.
biology one?
Oh.
Cause I'm not sure where. One of the last things that you said, Danielle, was like, oh, was like, we don't have. I forgot now, that was like 20 minutes ago.
Okay. About new hires, for new programs, growth.
No, but it was like, that's different than what we.
Oh,
say
usually
now
comments say,
are-
we have all these part-timers, we need.
Yeah, we have all these part-timers, and. But to a certain point, like, there has to be this like threshold where like, that's. Should hold some ground and actually matter. And I feel like just from the like emails that I've gotten and the information, the data that I've gotten from biology, like they seem like they really need it because they're severely overloaded. And they're turning away a lot of other students because like UCSB, our local college, doesn't offer the classes that we do. So like that could be something else, like it's not offered in the area, for example.
So does it sort of
Like,
covered
yeah.
by this, that they can't achieve their degree objective because of the only place?
Yeah, I was gonna say that also seems kind of broad to me. I feel like anybody can argue that. If you don't have enough full-time faculty and you can't staff it, then the.
English
students that
can't.
take The class that
Yeah,
you can.
we can't, 'cause we don't have that many people who are going for the English degree, so
Okay.
that's not an issue for us, that.
Okay, well, I mean, I think it's like when you have. Okay, maybe not that, but biology is in this unique situation where they offer classes that UCSB doesn't or other local schools. They don't have. Their full-time faculty are severely overloaded because the minimum requirements for anatomy and physiology, for example. Don't allow kinesiology majors or degree holders, I guess, to actually teach that class. It has to be very specific. That's very specific degree, which limits them in a lot of ways. So it's really hard to find somebody that can actually, even an adjunct that can teach it. So that's why the full-timers are severely overloaded.
And all nursing students, and the nursing program students all need it, so it
So
impacts
all
the
the
nursing
kinesiology,
program
yeah.
as well. And even the
Seems like that would fall into this like essential.
Yeah.
kind of-
I think it's the last one that's
That's
vague.
Not yet, that's the.
Yeah, that's another.
Well, it's not just.
It's not degree objectives, but it's access into the nursing program.
Yeah.
It should be degree and transfer objectives.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're not getting a degree, but they're transferring.
So don't you think, Jeff, it fits under here? They couldn't, they can't, but it's the idea of the faculty is unsustainable because they're overloaded to meet
Yes.
this demand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I I think that it does fall under that umbrella, but.
Yeah, the more
I just also wanted to say that like a reason why we don't want them to get burnt out. Because that's gonna affect the classroom and the students and yada yada, so.
They're already the end of their rope.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like that forever, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, the bio department's awesome and good
Yeah.
energy and they're all happy.
Yeah, I know,
I
they
know.
always look happy, don't they?
I'm sorry.
It's in their biology, right?
So what do you think? You guys tell me, since we have the Google Doc, can we make this a little better to reflect what Jeff just said? Or is it enough?
Yeah, sorry, that's why I was saying all those things, because I didn't know how to like.
I know.
put it
Me either.
Somewhere,
I'm tired.
but
Yeah.
I wanted to be part of the criteria.
Well, you could say in part because the classes, because the demand is so great.
Tremendous.
Is currently so great.
So-
The demand, yeah, because.
The demand far
Yeah,
exceeds
but
the.
if we put the criteria, then we have to have a line where it's. If there's enough or there is not, enough, right?
Yeah.
So.
Exceeds capacity of full-time faculty.
Faculty period, probably.
Some demand,
Exceeds capacity. or
Well,
something. Capacity or-
is leading to full-time faculty burnout, that's just subjective.
Yeah.
Burnout is.
Yeah, it's over.
They can't look happy in sentence.
Yeah, well. Okay.
Capacity, I mean.
I mean, they're turning students away.
Yeah.
So
The,
you could say that. but-
capacity,
But it's making students.
not even just, the
Right,
department.
that's right. Of the department without,
Right.
our students without full. Without full.
That's right.
And don't you have a hard time finding adjuncts also?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
You have a hard time finding adjuncts.
yes, because of the. Kinesiology master rules, it has to be specifically in biology.
Well, yeah, there's lots of reasons that, and you know, kinesiology majors can meet minimum quals or equivalency if they have the right coursework.
And you have to do
You have to
the.
find matching degree.
I forget what it's called.
I've done it. I mean, we've done, I'm on the ability committee, it's
We'll
hard.
try to, it's hard, one at a time, just for the people listening, but student demand exceeds capacity of the department to meet.
But not our local.
I'm sorry,
It's not a local decision.
no, that's like.
It's capacity, yeah.
California. national party, yeah.
Yeah, it's equivalency rules.
But.
Danielle, say it again.
Student demand exceeds capacity of the department. End of story.
Yeah, it's
So I don't need without a full-time faculty.
no.
I think we could just add in there that we
Everything.
were just saying down here is that. It's meaning that a lot of students are not gonna be able to complete their degrees because they have to. In a timely manner, they have to wait to take this class. And that will impact our student center funding formula. Impacts a lot of dollars. Oh, there goes somewhere else, yeah, right. It'll take us down the road.
So it is it's a sub point of the first one. That's why we're like struggling. Is it really different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's just a better one of the first one. Can we cut the flow above that? We can just try that later.
Well, I mean,
As
to
long as
your
it's in there
point,
somewhere.
most departments can argue that students aren't able to choose their degree without. So I think that's why you were saying it's a little bit too vague, perhaps.
Yeah.
I know Tricia wanted that because we want this list to be focused on our students' needs, and that was her point in including that, but I think the new one is.
All right. That's where we're leaning. I mean, yeah, it's not that. All right, that was really good. Okay, anything else on your mind now?
Well, do we care about the temporary contract people? Do we wanna go back to Erica and, or you could go back, or you and Maria could go back and say, hey, is there any opportunity that we maybe could go out for those positions sooner?
I think that Erica would want the Senate to recommend that, because it wouldn't mean she could do it, but yes, I mean, if we felt we could put this on for a action item for our next meeting. If we're ready to recommend those three to be fast tracked. It does mean that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the lower list might have less of a chance, but we don't really know that.
I think it's important to start it now because those were hard to find somebody anyway, so the later we, or the longer we wait, the
The
worse.
chance of losing them.
Yeah.
You sure?
Which
I was just saying, I don't think that this whole January budget thing should matter at all for this. I think we need to hire. Like, that's just the way it is.
Well, all right, let's put it for an action item next time, or do you feel so urgent you wanna move it to action today? I'll just do that, but I think we can wait 2 more weeks. Do you?
Well, why, I guess, in a way, like, if the general body feels that that it's comfortable recommending immediate, recommendation of those, then why wait?
Because it would give the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions to have that chance to come in and say something or not. I mean, I don't think, given my sense of the capacity of administration, I don't think anything's gonna happen in the next 2 weeks on this, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
Well, we may have like 2 different discussion items here, and in a way, we're talking about those 3. And maybe we all feel that we already know it's a priority and we want to recommend it.
Yep.
And then for the remaining ones, then we have to decide, do we want to follow what Kathy was saying? And have them come back to Senate and again, explain how they meet the essential criteria. And so in some ways, you know, we could decide that we're treating those as different.
Oh, I definitely agree for that. They
Or
would
not
treat
even
it
have them come back, but even if they did a write-up for us.
Sure, what other way,
Something.
right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
I'm with you guys, I'm with the will if you got it. I love it, I don't. vote.
I'm more worried about those 3 positions.
I mean, it seems to me like if we don't hire someone for reading typing,
We're
that's the end of
done.
the program,
We're
right?
done.
Like,
Isn't it
Yeah.
the same for ASL also, I thought?
No. They have no time with that already.
Ratio,
Okay.
We're in that
Just
deal.
and if
follow.
DSS is one of those like really required to staff
Is it something we can vote on now? Because it sounds like we're all in agreement that these 3 positions are really critical.
I don't love moving discussion to action unless we're really feeling that, so I think what we could do is say, this is the energy of the body now. And we could vote officially at the next meeting, but I'm happy if somebody wants to do it, but.
You know, we could wait and have you to talk to Erica and see, get her feelings about it, because
She said
She's the-
last time that she was open to the idea, and it was like, to me, I felt like she was like, do it, and that's what happened.
she was very.
She was like, I dare you. And I was like,
Yeah.
Okay. Like, to me, that was like, do it.
probably not.
If nobody objects, I think this feedback would be plenty for her to start trying to put the wheels in motion to be able to approve hires, and then we could do it in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Because it's not like it's gonna happen the second we say so. So to me, that would be the cleanest to say, okay, we're gonna let her know that Senate feels really, at the next meeting, we expect to approve this hire. So go girl now. Does that seem okay, or do you want the motion now? Yes, Timmy.
Quick question. So is the discussion, are you only approving these 3 for any new hires for the next year, or these are the first to be approved?
Excellent question. I realize in your hearing experience, we never to be sure. Right, it's just these 3 now because we see the urgency and they're here. It does not preclude the others at all. We will continue that discussion. Yes,
Got it. Thank you.
all right. So I'm feeling, I don't want to impose. If you guys want to move it to action and vote. Somebody can make that motion. Okay, all right, sounds good. Awesome. So at our next meeting, we will make that'll be on there for action to approve those 2 to recommend to hire. And then to continue, I think at the next meeting, we should try to make a recommendation for when and how we want to hear from these other positions. Does that sound like a good idea? Anybody want to think anything else for our next meeting?
Yeah, I
regarding
mean, I
these?
guess, again, the only thing I would say about that is I think there is some sense of, again, like other departments that have an urgent need. And also some sense of maybe, not biology, but maybe some of the others not as much, so. I think it would be sort of a shame to just limit it to those, make those 5 the universe, but,
Oh, I wasn't suggesting that.
well, yeah, but you're saying, I don't have them write up something.
Well, it might be interesting to see if they can meet those criteria. I think most programs would, but I was.
What I'm hearing from Katie is the second 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would fit with a limited call. To give other departments the chance to also make is that what people are feeling now? Like to say,
And we could give a limited call and anybody could say they meet the criteria, but it's our job as this body to determine if they have.
Yeah.
And if they haven't, then we rank them really low.
okay, so I think the next one will be discussion and possible action. Regarding timeline for, what are we calling this thing?
It's not
Essential.
not even a timeline so much as a discussion about what we're gonna do, what we're gonna do, regarding approach. Yeah, approach, right.
To, additional.
And yeah.
And Kim,
Elizabeth had her hands raised.
thank you. I warned you I'd be bad at calling. Yes, Elizabeth.
So I wasn't at the last meeting, I did watch it, but, what is the chaos about being over Pong so much? Like, I know it's not, but like, I gathered that other colleges are like way worse.
Yes, that's true.
So like, why can't we just hire these 3 people?
Well, the 3 people, I think, maybe, but now we're looking at the other
Why
potentially.
can't we just hire these 8 people?
Oh, we're not
Because
receiving
it's like
funding.
$800,000 out of our pocket every year. So,
We get
because we don't get funding for it, so we have to pay approximately $100,000 out of our pocket. to get it.
And we're already running a deficit budget.
100 per.
And we have a
Position,
budget.
it's per position, yeah. It's actually more.
Yeah, we're gonna do the exact numbers that I had homework that I.
So like, we're not just being alarmist or whatever.
No, really. Don't.
No, yeah, but
Trying to be sure.
always ask those questions.
It's alarming that we're overpawned by so much.
It is
That's
alarming,
what's
okay.
alarming.
But we aren't alone in that.
Too hard.
So we're looking at the statements, sort of get their act together. I wanna remind the Zoom participants, I really don't notice when you raise your hand, hopefully other people, but you can turn on your mic and yell in, okay, yeah. All right, so, thank you. Okay, so this agenda item is carried over from 9:27, and we never actually got to talk, and I'm sorry that Stephanie's not here because she has a really important story about experiencing COVID as an instructor over the summer. But we just wanted the chance to talk about this. The whole society is trying to adjust to like, what do you do with COVID? So I still haven't, I had a student who stayed home because their roommate had COVID. Good for her. I don't know. I mean, I was mixed about that. I mean, that's certainly not the protocol anymore, no symptoms yet. You can just come and mask. I don't know. And then of course it's different if you're like on a field trip and somebody gets COVID. So we just sort of wanted this chance, that we didn't have sort of some new shared practices. And so this was a chance to talk about it more. I did attach this update, which you cannot. So it took a while for the college to get fencing kits available and stuff, but they did. And this reminder of, try not to come when you have COVID. We always do wonder if all faculty are honoring that just by their word. They need to show a positive test. Do we care? Is everybody on their own on this right now? This is a chance to talk about it. Danielle and then Kathy.
So one of the instructors in social science had a student who came on Tuesday and then emailed her and said, I tested positive for COVID. And it wasn't clear, should the instructor email the class and let them know there was a COVID possible exposure, and that's something that I think if I were a student, I would want to know, but it wasn't in the email that was sent out, is there any, are we just done with contact tracing?
What's the protocol?
What's the protocol? If you've been informed that someone was positive,
like, if I tested positive, I would tell my student that, but
Yeah.
then you need to be extra careful, you know.
Around any-
vulnerable people.
Yeah.
So,
It's so great you're here, Jordan.
Okay, Kathy.
Yeah, the information was really, awful to begin with.
We wasn't here that.
It was, not clear what Dr. Wilk sent out, what he sent out wasn't true. I emailed him multiple times telling him it wasn't true. Poor guy threw up his hands finally and just gave up. And I'm really glad that this document is out, but I think there are a couple of issues. Number one, you can finally find it under testing, but Earl Warren is still testing and we can all go there and our students can go there. And the PCR test is really the only really accurate test. I don't know how many of you use the antigen test, but some of them are not easy to use. And it's complicated, and if you don't do it exactly right, I mean, they're bad anyway, but if you don't use them right, then you know they're wrong.
And they're delayed.
And so I would really like the word out strongly that Earl Warren is still there. They're from 8 to 3, I think, every day, Monday through Friday.
Is it still free?
It's still free. You go and show your stuff and
No, it's your insurance.
well, but we've always had to use our, I mean, we
It
use our
depends what
insurance for
insurance you
years.
have. That has. feedback on it.
If you want that test, you have to fill out a form, get it approved, and no longer automatically give it to everybody just because they want.
I went out there, I did my test, my other faculty have gone, we show our card, I said to the people, do I have to show you my insurance card, do I have to do anything, and they said no.
You have to show you,
You show your ID and you're done.
And it's free,
2 weeks
because that's
ago.
not what it says on the website.
Well, I don't, the website has been wrong,
I just
the
read it.
website has been wrong from day one.
Okay, so faculty
So-
have gotten.
Oh, I've sent students, we've had faculty go, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Can
Can I have clarity, which website?
I guess the COVID, SBCC COVID website hasn't,
My first week here, we
yeah,
updated that.
you poor guy.
Yeah, it's okay.
I-
But we updated that my first week here, which is 2 weeks ago. And so that information should be up to date, but I can add more information.
So the second issue I have is with the health center. And basically, you can't go to the health center unless you had a COVID test. And so for students, you know, you have an injury like we've had in a PE class. I mean, what do we do with them? I mean, can't they do a COVID antigen test right there so that they can treat them? I mean, I've been into doctor's offices with all this stuff and nobody's asked me anything about having a COVID test. I've had them, but nobody cares. They don't even care if I wear a mask. So why is our health center being so picky?
Are they just requiring a live test 15 minutes? Like,
They just say you can't come in here without a COVID test. Couldn't
don't
they?
they hand them the test?
No, I mean, maybe they do, but if it says they say very clearly, don't come without a COVID result. I mean, that's ridiculous. They're the health center. Our students are paying a health fee. They shouldn't be blocked from walking in there and getting taken care of. So what reality is, I don't know. I know what it says. They say that you can't come without a negative COVID test. So I think there needs to be.
When you go in person, it doesn't say that on the website.
No,
We're hearing
it says
this
it on the
report.
website. In fact, it said that in all the communications that Dr. Wilk sent out.
Find it
That-
right now.
Yeah, here, let's.
Beth has got the phone.
So whatever, but I think those are just issues that need to be
We'll find out
clarified.
if that's an issue. Yeah.
So not to the testing question, but
Okay.
to the what happens if you have someone test positive in your classroom question. We had a case on October 4th. And at that time, the website said that if you have exposed an employee of the college to COVID, you test positive and realize that you've exposed an employee of the college, you need to fill out this form to report it to the COVID people. So we were like, well, let's at least start by doing that. So the instructor did that, and when he did, the COVID response team replied, and they gave him a template that he was then to use to contact his class to let them know what had happened.
We didn't think there was a COVID.
We don't even have a COVID response.
Alejandro Rankel responded when he filled out that. And I've got the email right here.
I think the confusing part is it's only if it's an employee.
It is super confusing. We were like, what?
Yeah.
Let's just try it and see what happens. That's what happened.
Okay. I told her to probably.
And when you're filling out the form, if all you're getting is a template,
Yeah,
the
I
student
know.
tells me, hey, I have COVID,
I don't
is
know.
it there our responsibility just to go into Canvas and say,
Oh,
hey, everybody?
So then you're supposed to use a template to contact your
You
kid.
have to use their language.
That's what we were.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, you guys, it's great, because I get students all the time telling me they have COVID.
It wasn't clear.
We're still working, yeah.
Cornelia.
Yeah, on the Health and Wellness Center, I think that information that you had to come with, or we're supposed to come in with already tested it was during the time when there were no test kits for the health and wellness. We had
It was when we had no test kit on campus.
Yeah, so there were no test kits for but I think that has changed now. The question I would have is, was there a change? It's my understanding that the last communication was that there is no more waiving of having to use your sick leave when you are home during because of COVID. That stopped, right? During COVID, we didn't have to use sick leave whenever we had to isolate or stay home because of COVID. This was changed. Is there the new protocol? Does that come with any change of that, or the rule is still, okay, it doesn't matter why you are sick, COVID, no COVID, it's always coming out of this. Nodding means.
Yeah, that you can bring it up in another forum if you want.
And we use it provided to not have to use your screen at all that, right?
Yeah, but there was also a punchline waiver without MOU. It reached over and above the amendments.
Okay, so any other comments or questions? I do feel we're desiring to have a little more shared protocol. Yeah, Jeff.
I would just want to say that I think even if there isn't protocol, that we should just use our own best judgment. Because there could be something brand new that comes about, or even just like some other disease in our class that we don't have strict protocol for. But like, I'm gonna tell you if somebody has this super contagious disease in the class, I'll just tell you, I'm not gonna like look for a template. I won't say who it was, but like that's me just using the best.
So you would like require a really sick student to leave your classroom?
I didn't say that,
Oh.
but I'm saying like in the event that somebody says, hey, I have, I don't know. Or like chicken pox or tuberculosis or like, I don't know, I'm not the biologist, I'm just advocating for them. So I would let my class.
You would let your.
If you develop symptoms, then you should probably check. And now you have another piece of evidence, so when you go to the doctor, they know what they can test for. If it's a rare thing or not, so.
So your point is just always support students in learning about their health and not exposing others to
Sure.
disease.
And then like, use your best judgment, like common sense.
Yeah.
I don't wanna say common sense, because that seems
But
like.
there's
rude.
no common sense.
But it is also, I don't want, yeah,
But I mean, I think the question was like, when we were actually contact tracing, they didn't want faculty to. Notify your own
And that's
class,
what they
you're
get
only
our-
supposed to go
that's
through
right.
the COVID.
Yeah,
contact
I'm trying to
tracers.
figure out how
So
to
like
be
that's
responsible.
the issue.
oh, well, I didn't remember that. and
Oh, yeah.
I did it.
We weren't supposed to tell our students. I'd like to know if there, who was responding to COVID response hotline at sbcc.edu. That might be a good question for you to find out. This is on our COVID website, SBCC COVID.
Goes directly to Jordan.
What's the URL?
It's just search COVID.
So I searched COVID and this is what I.
Time out. Laura, she's gonna email you the URL, right?
That'd be great, thank you.
How hard? It's just like, okay.
Because there's a bunch of shit.
No, I'm right, I love it.
Just open that page, then Who was responding to the COVID hotline? Okay, guys, we're gonna move on to my feeling. We want for some more information. Any other comments, questions, an area we haven't talked about yet? That's on your mind for this?
And can I just kind of recap?
Yes, thank you.
I'm feeling like there are a lot of open-ended questions right now that we're having.
Mhm.
And the first for me as instructor is who is responsible for letting students know when they potentially have been exposed. The second question that Kathy raised is also one that has come up from my students, and that is if they need to go to the student health center because I had a student with a migraine and she wanted to go to the student health center. And they said, no, we can't see you because you haven't had a COVID test. Do you have a COVID test for me to take? I said, no.
When was this?
Maybe like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so we're hoping that's changed.
We're
has
hoping,
that
but
changed?
what I'm saying is we need to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to find out. It's perfectly reasonable for them to ask for a COVID test as long as we can keep them.
As long as they have one and might even administer it.
Right.
Because it's complicated. No, there's not that easy to do.
Yeah, and I actually have had it twice this semester, because then I had another student who twisted her ankle.
Yeah.
And tried to go, but that wasn't seen.
That's right.
Okay.
And we certainly don't want students who potentially have COVID on their
We don't want that either.
pay for COVID tests.
Okay, Tara, any other recap?
Those are the two big, like, questions we don't have answers
But
to.
my guess is it's us for the first, no?
But let's find out.
Yeah, right, but if you had to guess, you're betting right now. Yeah, Rosa.
I have one more question. Someone just said the student went with the twisted ankle, was that you?
Yeah.
And they were not seen. The interim paying health services.
I know, I don't know.
That's quite as them, not.
That's right.
So they're paying these health services, right, so they go to get services, they are denied because they don't have a negative test. Right, it's quite a conflict there, so I think something they.
And I know they had trouble getting tests, and maybe it's all been resolved. Let's
Right.
just put the reminder in there that it needs to be resolved. There's a reason why students pay that fee.
Good, excellent, yep. Any other thoughts, comments? And I do wonder what the field trip folks do. So would people like guidance about that? Yeah.
Well, they left today, so.
They left today, good luck, Bill.
Yeah, I COVID.
Yeah.
It's going on the beach.
This summer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stephanie has quite a story from last summer, so we'll get her to tell it.
It's not like-
It's not funny, but it is sad. Okay, thank you, guys.
I have another thing that maybe this happened, but are we doing like flu and COVID booster shot things on campus for students to make it easy to get them? Because like the new booster just came out, students don't necessarily, like, I'm obsessed, so we go get it right away, but students may not even know that that stuff is available or that you should be getting your flu shot and your COVID booster, like.
That's why I asked if we couldn't have a booster clinic here on
Yeah.
campus. I mean, we've done flu vaccines on campus, why can't we
We've done COVID vaccines.
this semester?
No, And I haven't seen a flu shot for students call, have you? Just back.
No.
Yeah.
But we could do a COVID.
Do you have a flu shot
vaccine.
yet?
I was actually.
How about you, Angela? Flu shot?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah, do you want them? You're
Yeah,
not care, you're young.
I was thinking about that today.
All right,
actually.
well, good, okay.
You should have it on campus.
Oh, good.
To make it easy, it should
All right.
be right here.
Well, okay, so that's, all right, can we?
We've done it in the past.
I think flu shots are easier than the COVID boosters from what I've seen, but.
Not anymore, I think it's so, they can do this, they can do them both at the same
I
time.
did, I got them both. One of each.
Yep.
My son got them both. didn't
Okay, any other questions or comments now? All right, awesome. Okay, data on summer school. That's our next item, right? Yes. Okay, so thank you again, Maria. You got this to us super timely, but we didn't have time to talk about it yet. And we were wondering about all of these different parameters. So they're tiny. I'll post stuff and see. I'm hoping somebody, like I've been carrying them around, meaning to annotate them, but I haven't. So if nobody else has, someone else has to read this. Woo. So it is very tiny. So did anybody do a deep dive? Besides Maria? I know that maybe, I mean, that they have to do it for anybody wanna highlight anything from the data from summer? So if we look here, I know the success rate for 2023 is 78.8. And we see it's not that far off, it's a little lower, yeah, from the last time. And then for the disaggregated by race and ethnicity. Again, it's not a lot of grades for some categories, so you always keep that in mind when you look at the total grade, which is great, the data is that granular. And we have we do still have gaps by ethnicity, but not as high in the summer. We do during the regular semester. That's correct, Miranda? Sounds right for me, right? We are 4% for aggregate, then if you look disaggregated.
Retention rates are good.
Okay.
The number of successful grades is like double. Isn't it? Or are there 2 sessions in between or something? It looks
Which
like
one? Oh, successful grade.
well, above, it says 86.31, and then above that is 49.47. Is that? I can't see what's on the left side.
I don't even, where are you? Oh, are you down?
The number of total section offered. And so what you're looking at looking at the 49, 47, that's only for summer session part 2.
Okay, so
Not
that's what I wanted to see was like, okay.
So yeah, these
Yeah,
are,
there's less.
1 and 2 are separated, so
Right.
excellent point, thank you, Jeff, yeah, really great point, so this was, so summer 1, 2022, it's 11,000 something versus 10.
Correct.
But it's not that far off,
Yeah.
right, the total? 8, right, I mean, it's not. So we were wondering if we lose enrollment, and it looks like, where's the total enrollment number, we have that?
Well, there's the section number, there were 474 sections versus 451. From the 2 combined versus the 1.
Right, you just did that in your head. You had those. Yeah. Just making sure I wasn't missing a number, okay, yeah,
So, but that
yay, math person.
is all, I'm not staff person.
Okay.
Here at last. But that includes all the modalities, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So I,
We'll look at the modality one next.
oh,
Offerings are pretty consistent, a little lower, but our enrollment's down across everything. And I think we were looking at retention.
Retention is really good.
And this makes me happy because we were worried, English anecdotally thought we were losing more people in the second half. Because of the overlapping classes, the people who did the 6 weeks, so we had those 2 weeks where it would overlap. So anecdotally, we thought we were losing a lot, but the numbers here don't look as bad, don't look that bad, right? So that's good. All right, let's look at the other one.
Well, and I just right now, so that this is only retention, not persistent,
Which means,
which is what you were trying to sort of get at with the overlap between
Right.
110 and 111.
persistence is from semester to semester.
Or from river or from side to side, yeah.
you know what, no, we didn't care, it wasn't so much like,
You were thinking retention,
we were,
within one course or something.
we actually were just afraid we were losing the, it's like. Second half, 110 students, they were in other summer school classes, and we felt those people who had to start with the overlap struggled to stay in their class. So it was just retention for us. We knew we were giving up sequence. We didn't do 5 week ones. We're like, it's only 25 people a year about who ever did the 110, 111.
See, how do you know that?
Because we looked before we decided. The department did, we made the decision to not do 5 week ones. Because we're like, that's not that many students. We can't teach in 5 weeks.
I want to know some of those questions too. Right, I think I asked this before, but I don't know. I wanna know how many people do sequential classes, but I also wanna know how many people take two classes. That's what I want. Because I feel like.
Like
right,
two in
how
a,
many two?
Two at a
Yeah,
time,
two
okay.
in the, if you do one summer session, how many students take two?
or it would be four if
And
you're
then
trying to do
four.
the like entire sequence, because you used to be able to do 2, 2 and 2, 6
That's
weeks. Now, if you do 2, 2, you have 4 for 2 weeks in the middle,
Right.
for many that are 6 weeks.
We wanna know, I wanna know.
So that's your question.
I have those questions also. We had a meeting with student services to talk about. There were a lot of problems from the 2-week sessions that they were looking to resolve by moving to the one session. I said 2 weeks, I meant 2 sessions, by moving to one session. And there were a lot of problems that resulted from the single session.
Right.
And so there was a lot of talk about what was the initial design that wasn't followed, what parts of the initial design were followed and what parts were not followed. And what were some of the unintended consequences of those things. And so we took notes on a lot of that. Jens came and talked to us about what the initial design was. One of the complaints from students and admissions and records and the student services is that there were different, and I think all of you, there were different start and end dates all summer long. And keeping track of the start and end dates and what started and when and how. And so what Jens discussed as the initial design was not followed. And the initial design, according to Jens, was that there would be 10-week classes. There would be 8-week classes that either started at the beginning and ended 2 weeks early, or started at week 2 and ended at the end.
It would have been week 3, but.
Well, yeah. Right, started at
the
week
beginning,
3 and ended at the end, so they either aligned.
They
with
had
the
to anchor,
start,
yeah.
They were anchored on one side or the other. The same with 6-week classes, that they were gonna be anchored on one side or the other. And then there would be 5-week classes that allowed for sequencing.
That's what English did.
I don't think that's what everybody did.
And that's, we have a chart on it.
That is what Jens reported, was that in theory, that's how it was supposed to go. But in actuality, that isn't how it went.
So the deans didn't review the schedule that were submitted to them.
So I'm not gonna say that on a recording, but.
Oh, sorry, guys, I love you. I love the deans. You work harder than we do, and I work really hard, but.
So like, the way UCSB does this, is they have a 12-week session, and so you either teach 12 weeks. Or they label it session A, session B, and that's 6 weeks and then 6 weeks. And then you can do 3 and 3 and 3 and 3, but they label it like A, GT.
1, 2, 3,
1, 2,
4.
3, 4,
Right.
and you slot into those so that you're not just like free for all scheduling your 6 weeks whenever you want. You're either session A, session B, 1, 2, 3, 4, and or the full, and like those are the choices as a faculty member, and it brings a lot of clarity, continuity, standardization to like how things are scheduled.
So if we had done that, would some of the problems have been averted? The one I'm describing wouldn't have been, because it's still, you have the 6-week one that starts. You have the other 6-week one that ends, there's still the 2-week overlap.
No, but not with the UCSB thing.
Well, right, because they don't have, no, but
they do 12 weeks.
ours is 10 weeks. So
Well, then maybe you don't offer the 6 week.
that was the only way that our department accepted the new session, because we feel we can't teach composition in 5 weeks.
That was a big discussion. A lot of us do not wanna touch a 5-week.
Right.
So then
Why did we go to?
I'm still sad. Okay, so let's finish. Okay.
That leads to part 2, because some departments did go to 5 weeks so that students could do a sequence. And admissions and records said that, and the transcript evaluation office said that they won't do that in the future because they had to manually do the sequence.
Clear the prerequisites.
To clear the prerequisites. And they used to be able to clear the prerequisites because there were 2 separate terms, but now they're all one term, so they had to be manually done. did let Paloma know that I am not sure that we should be making a absolute not statement if it serves the students better, because some of the STEM students can graduate in 2 years if they can utilize the sequencing, and some of them cannot if they can't utilize the sequencing. So I personally am not in agreement of an all or nothing statement like that, because I think there are some students that that's really going to hinder. And if our objective for the student funding formula is to get students to graduate in a timely manner, when we have high unit sequence classes, how do you do that? And we have students that are either sometimes trying to catch up, so then it's hard on the students who are on probation to get caught up, or students who aren't on probation to get caught up to make their 30 units for guaranteed admissions by the end of the summer for the next year. So there's a lot of elements to it. Some of them I think are logistics, and some of them I think are student need based. That doesn't give us any resolution at all, but Paloma, my question was, how many students are taking the sequence? How successful are they being?
Right. How many are they doing?
And the calendar has a lot of limitation in moving the start of spring to after the week of MLK, because we didn't want to lose a full day of instruction when we started the week of MLK or before MLK. But everything gets munched together then. There are all these, like, it's just a big giant accordion that's munched together.
Yeah, and the effort to avoid losing that Monday, we've had to shrink down to 10 weeks instead of 12. I mean,
I'm just wondering, because it was, I know the sciences who have labs, like missing 2 Mondays was a problem.
why are we scheduling them on Mondays?
Well, that's the thing, if we have declining enrollments, why? Maybe the solution is you don't schedule labs on Mondays, and then you can start earlier. And then have a longer. Other Saturdays.
I remember when Dr. Gaskin was here, and she said you could just delay your exam week by a day and have that first Monday be the makeup Monday. That
Well,
she said
Santa
some
Monica
schools-
does that.
Right, so that's
Santa
another
Monica
way to
does
innovate
next
to
week
recognize
for
that, right?
They're fine.
Cornelia's better be the-
Oh, God, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes. Cornelia.
I'm trying to think back at this, when we had this discussion, if we should go to the 10-week schedule. And I think part of the pitch there was that we would get a lot of flexibility on how to schedule classes. That flexibility that was, I think, promised there already got kind of limited due to like legitimate practicality reasons for the students, like with this anchoring idea, anchor either at the beginning or at the front, don't have 2 weeks, 3 weeks, all kinds of stuff together, right? Because that's confusing. I do understand that, but the other item that is, and I think this is a little bit, this is really concerning, is that if departments and students will be limited in having these sequential classes, that this is going to be eliminated. Because if I had known that before, I would have never, ever agreed to this shorter schedule.
I mean, you wouldn't have said, yeah, I'll do 5-5 if you didn't know it wouldn't meet the sequence.
It wouldn't make the sequence. No, I would have said, then leave it at 12 weeks.
Right.
Then I would have said, leave it at 12 weeks, leave it as is, so that my students can, like, for example, take accounting to 30 in 1 and accounting to 40 in 2.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, the 5 weeks, we can make it work, but if now I get told my students will never be able to get approval to do this thing, then the whole thing was, that's really defeating the purpose.
It is. The whole point of summer is to either catch up or to get ahead. And if we're eliminating the sequencing, then students can't do either of those two things.
Which means they're not gonna enroll.
Or they're gonna teach,
But
but they're still gonna be here for 3 years.
Yeah. It'd be nice to know the number of those students. Take it away, Elizabeth.
Oh, I just want to say also that at least for the math department, what you saw last summer is definitely not gonna be what you're gonna do next summer. Because we already decided, like, you cannot teach a 5-unit math class in person and 5 weeks. I personally did it, no good. And I think I was looking, this is very,
How
oh
long do you stay for your
my
class?
god, like over 4 hours.
Yeah,
It was like so bad. They can.
I mean, so do you speak for everybody? Do you think no one will do it, or you just know for sure it's you?
No, I like, we as a department, I think, are just gonna not do that, I think. And then, so I was just doing like a little preliminary just right now. We had 37 total sections in summer 1, summer 2, 2022. We had 40 last summer. But I think that was just because we were like, well, let's just try to repeat what we've done in the past. You know what I mean? Try to keep the same number. And I think other departments, maybe I'm wrong, we're just like, yeah, okay, let's just try to do the same thing. But now that we tried it, I think it's just all gonna be different this summer. So I think the numbers will be, I don't know if the numbers will be different, but it's definitely gonna be a different number of sections, like different lengths. And I just think it's gonna be completely different than what last summer.
Will math
If you
offer
keep
that
track.
online? Will they offer the 5-week, 5-unit online, do you think? Okay, so just, you're not gonna do 5-week.
Based on preliminary discussions in the math department, I think we decided, like, pedagogically, and not.
Put people. through that.
Like English, where you need 6 weeks minimum.
And this hurts our STEM students again, who, used to be able to take 200, 210, 220, any of those 3 in 2 of the 2 summer sessions, and now they're limited to just 1 of those.
Or 137, 138, so they could do the whole engineering sequence in 2 years with the following summer. And all of that is.
So for all the 5, 6 weeks we had last year, I think we're gonna have more 6, 8. So
But
so
no
it's gonna be a
but no
different,
double.
no, right, don't think-
I would love to hear from counseling, and then, Trish, I told you, I think, I don't think I've seen the minutes, but Mariah did a great job sharing SEL's experience of also finding 5 weeks too long for the face-to-face. So, that's not out there, that is, so I wanted to be sure that yeah, now I forgot, oh, yes, so here's my question, your recent Maria's report, and we've heard from counseling so much, students want 8-week classes. We had to cancel 8-week classes.
Which
Last
classes?
English 110 and 111.
How many?
Not many, a 111. I'd have to look back now, but they were not popular. We didn't offer many and they didn't fill. Now, maybe for English, it's less.
I'm sorry.
We didn't offer many 8-week sections. Chris, did you have?
In the
Yeah.
16, in the summer?
Yeah,
in the-
in summer, so we did it right, we anchored them, we started them late, because we wanted to capture our local high school students, since the start date's like right at graduation. And we had an online, they filled but more slowly. And then the one we canceled was a hybrid, face to face.
I think the reason why the 8-week, right, those are them. I think the reason why the 8-week English didn't go is because the high school students couldn't take advantage of it because they were considered dual enrollment. And so they had to jump through all of these hoops in order to take English 110, even though it started after they graduated from high school. But they had to do a dual enrollment application, they had to do a high school counselor approval form. Yes, they had to do all of these things to be able to take advantage of that, and it was too much for them to do.
Beautiful point.
Because
Okay.
the term started, so they were dual enrollment, even if the class didn't start.
And our local high school students are a huge population for our summer school.
Yes,
And the dual enrollment component was a mess.
And then what were you gonna say about that?
I was gonna say that I think the 8-week was also more geared towards the STEM lab class.
That was the goal you guys really
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah, although there are sequences within that STEM that are like bio majors taking physics 110 and 111 in the summer makes it so they can get it done. But there's nowhere else they can fit it into their schedule because they're taking chem, organic chem, bio. So the only way to get physics is sequenced in the summer.
So tell me that again, Chris, you need 8-week classes for what?
For some, well, originally, I think there was also discussion that some of the
Physics would offer 10 weeks.
physics and or bios would offer major prep classes in an 8-week or longer session that currently are never offered in the summer.
Like physics 121.
Yeah. Or bio 101 or bio 102,
And they didn't?
and they did not.
Okay, so
You don't hear.
there we go, come back, get that. So I think that I'm hearing a need to do a little bit more collaboration, thinking about the scheduling for 2024. Our deadline for that is what, January? When do we schedule summer school? So
We're hoping to launch the process in December. Just to
make us suffer before the break.
well, to give folks the opportunity who wish to take advantage of having that data early on and working on those instructions early on to have them, give them the opportunity to do that.
And counseling is in support of counseling, that the schedule doesn't come out until 2 weeks before registration is hard on counseling.
And students.
And students, because they all wait till the schedule comes out to make an appointment, and then 6,000 students want an appointment in a 2-week time
So-
frame before their registration.
So is there a goal to get the schedule built earlier for summer and fall?
We requested that during our.
I think we should get this on our agenda now then, just so as we can. Yes, what's that?
There's a hand up.
Oh, thank you. Got your sister, yeah, Krisha.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I wanted to listen to everyone else's ideas, and I think I'm sort of repeating what people said, but just the feedback that I got was that for some instructors, when it's a 5-week, it was just too overwhelming for students to stay that long in class. So, I mean, I just wanted to reinforce that that was definitely a non-credit as well.
So
The burnout.
Have you decided you're gonna try to have the overlap 6 weeks, 6 weeks? Have you made a decision? Have you thought about yet for next summer?
Yeah, well, to be honest, like for me in adult high school GED, it's not really relevant. We just go the whole term. But for a lot of the other classes, they're splitting it. And I did briefly talk to some people about, well, does that, maybe you can just meet more days of the week, to spread it out. Or some other options, or getting, doing course mods to change the hours if possible and cut down your classes. But, those are kind of workarounds. And I don't know, it's, that would be an issue, but I haven't gathered really strong data from the managers about other, timeline plans.
So
But
I think for credit, we do need to think about getting the schedule earlier, so this might have to come back this fall, if we get prepared for it.
Yeah,
Could
if
be
that's the
doable.
case, we just need to let the Parmenters know well ahead of time.
Right.
They're not
Was there
scrambled.
another hand?
I'm just wondering, should at some point
Okay, see you, Juan, right after Danielle.
Okay, should we rethink whether we should have 2-week sessions? Like, is that?
Oh, I thought that was clear, what that's up for.
I mean, it seems like it is, like, that should be something that.
Not
I
in
don't
the
know what they-
2020
Yeah, that's true, but like,
Locked in, but-
whatever the calendar process. is,
2025.
We're gonna have to approve a calendar pretty soon.
We at least will, and this is what we did email about, right? Sabrina, I said, am I losing my mind? So you guys are gonna come and remind us the original, all the good reasons for the 10 weeks. And if we make this,
The good reasons were like staff, you got to take big holidays, but then they said during the new format, they actually didn't get to.
It was a mix.
Yeah.
So that didn't even happen.
So-
Okay.
Financial aid.
Oh, yeah.
The financial aid.
Got to distribute awards in a
done.
timely manner before the
Yeah.
fall semester.
Reports were able to be run because there was a little the window. I think that they really like having the window between the terms. So that they can get stuff done. And like financial aid, like the MLK being later because it allowed them to give students their awards.
Right, but then it created unintended consequences where financial aid was working the day before Christmas Eve. Trying to get stuff in, because even though there was a longer winter break, it was longer on the end of January instead of in December. And so they were coming in Christmas Eve to run everything, whereas before they weren't doing that. So that's what we meant by like, it did help in one sense, but then it created these other issues that weren't there before.
So I'm hearing that we're leaning towards the 10 weeks on trial. For the summer.
It's my understanding of every schedule.
Huh?
It's my understanding that it always was.
Well, until it isn't, right? Yeah.
Well, every term calendar is negotiable.
Yeah, all right, so this is great,
Forget
so,
one.
I mean, I think we're agreeing that,
One.
oh, thank you, Juan, yes.
Yes, I want to give some feedback on the 5-week. For us, it did help. And we had a couple of students, well, several students that did 5 weeks for 101 and then continue the other 5 weeks for 102. They were able to complete an entire year of Spanish, the requirement for either high school or their degree. So with us, it did take some, communication between the 101 instructor and 102. For the first 5 weeks, we had to report the grades as soon as possible so they would have access to 102. But other than that, it was a schedule that worked for us.
So the 5 week worked for your pedagogy and instruction.
It did.
And you
It
were
did.
able to collaborate. So you had the ideal experience.
We did, because,
But they said they won't
yeah,
do that.
well,
But did you hear
No.
Christie say that right now, they don't wanna do that anymore because it's manual?
Yeah.
And I know the voice is hard to hear. Did you hear that concern for?
yeah,
claims?
I heard that, but the instructor in 101 for the first 5 weeks, if they report the grades as soon as possible, and then you communicate with the instructor in 102, that student is going to have a space there, knowing that I collaborated with my colleague Paco. These are 5 students that just finished 101 with me. They got a passing grade and, help save them a spot. And as soon as I turned in the grade, it was official and he was able to accommodate them. So for us, it did work.
So we want to just make sure that admission and records hears that, and whether there's gonna be a way to do that again in 2024. Because right now they were saying, they don't care what you do, they're not gonna go in and do that manual release, but we're gonna work on that. Is that a fair synthesis, you guys? Yeah, okay. It's 4:56. All right, so thank you. Did I miss other hands right now? Okay, so that has to come back to the table about the sequencing. Timeline, we've got to get that thing about trying to do the schedule earlier, so students have a chance to get their classes.
Yes, and that will basically come down to whether or not we're ready to launch summer 2024 with the new course scheduling software.
Oh.
And it might come down to, do we want to wait until January, but use the course scheduling software? Or do we want to launch in December to get the schedule sooner? With that, whether or not we're able to do it with the new course scheduling software. So it's always a dilemma.
Well, then for department chairs, we just need to know what's the new time on it, because our lives, we live by the timeline. So how soon do you need it from us to get it ready to publish for students? If we're gonna move that up, we wanna know before the break, right? Okay, that was pretty good. We didn't get to our last discussion item, but that's okay. We sort of had it here for a while. It's still pending. We can bring that back to get the information. So I am feeling like super closure vibes 2 minutes early. So the senators are packing. So thank you guys. Thanks for the Zoom. I know the sound is great. Great. Email if you have questions. Yeah. We're adjourning the meeting at 4:58.
Thank you.
I mean, I normally get